Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Heavy Checklist Podcast. We are on a roll. This is week number 2 in a row that we are being consistent.
Is that what a roll is? It's 2 days?
It's a roll. Where it feels like a roll to me. I feel great because typically this is like a once every 3 months type of deal, which is something we're trying to get better at, honestly. And we've said that a lot, and it's actually something that we are kind of prioritizing, moving things around and coming up with a format that actually works. Because the problem is the reason why we don't do a lot of regular episodes is because anytime I do something, I want to make sure that we do it big and, well done, and it's worth everybody's time, because we know that your time is valuable, and we know that, when you tune into a podcast like this, you're expecting some value. And we want to make sure that there's value delivered rather than, just hanging around chit-chatting, because that's not necessarily what this podcast is about. Although we do sit around and chit-chat, we typically like to have some sort of goal or initiative or purpose. And what we've been working on between the last podcast and tonight's podcast is getting around to some of the questions that you guys, as our viewers, fans, followers, friends, and our community have for us. And so we have a hotline, and that phone number is 801-436-8677. And basically, if you call that hotline, it's going to send you... We got somebody TikToking over here.
I'm trying to see if your post is up. I don't see it up.
It may not have gone live yet.
That's why I was checking.
So 436-8677 is a number that you can call. You're not going to get straight through to a real person, but what you're going to get is our voicemail box. And in that voicemail box, you can drop us questions that you would like us to respond to here on the podcast. Now, the problem is we have a lot of people using that phone number to call and say, hey, can you come and swap my F-150? Can you do this? Can you do that? And that's not necessarily what we have this line dedicated for. We do have another main company line. If you have a recovery or you want something done like that, that's 801-303-1921. So that's the one that you can call if you're actually looking for, information about just kind of the day-to-day stuff that we do. But if you're looking to talk with us specifically about life and podcast material and different things like that, that's where you can hit us on this other hotline. Again, that phone number is 801-436-8677. And tonight, we are joined by some of my favorite people in the entire world. We've got Mr. Hans Peterson, who was here with me last week. It was just me and Hans.
Yes.
But tonight, we also have the OG podcast host, Mr. Marcus Wing. Marcus?
Was this where I jump in and say hello?
That's what
hello, everybody. I don't have a lot of probably good answers. I'm just here to hang out.
That's kind of what we brought you for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not expecting much.
I know my place, man.
Just being here, man.
It's all good. I'm just here for the good times.
And as you guys know, Marcus and I have been best friends for a long, long time. Literally, he's like one of my oldest friends by a long shot. And we've been through all kinds of stuff together, ups and downs, highs and lows, good, bad, ugly, everything in between. And man, we're going on 2003.
Yeah, because I moved here. I graduated 02, and then we moved here. Yeah, about 03.
21 years of friendship, man.
Damn, man, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
I still got that belt buckle you sent me from Bolivia.
Damn right.
Hell on wheels.
Damn right.
Yeah.
So that's one cool thing about Marcus and I is we both served our LDS missions at the same time, pretty much. Marcus went out maybe 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year the most ahead of me. Yeah. And the standard of the LDS mission is 2 years. And so when you're on your mission, you are basically isolated from everything from the whole world, from your friends, your family, your girlfriends, your job, school. Everything gets put on hold, and you get sent to somewhere in the world to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I got sent to the jungles of Santa Cruz, Bolivia. Marcus got sent to the jungles of
mean streets,
Macon, Georgia.
Yeah,
yes, and Hans got sent to the mean streets of Phoenix, Arizona. So the three of us all served 2-year LDS missions. And what's cool is as when you're on a mission, you're able to write home. You're able to, once a week, you get what's called P-Day. And on P-Day, you're able to just basically get caught up, do your laundry, do your chores, do all the stuff that you need to do. And also as part of that, you're able to write a letter home. And we were able to email our family. You're not able to really email or write many other people back in the day. The missions have changed a lot since then. 20 years. Yeah, now missionaries got cell phones, they got social media, they're talking to their parents and family kind of all the time. Whereas when we were on our missions, we talked to our parents on Mother's Day and Christmas. That was it. 2 times a year. And the reason for that was not to isolate us from our families and, be cruel about it. It was to keep us focused on the task at hand. Because I know for a fact that if I was able to have a cell phone and call whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted, I probably wouldn't have been a very effective missionary. Times have changed. Technology has kind of changed the way we communicate and interact with each other and the world. So, with that said, the only form of communication that we had back then was writing letters. So Marcus and I would write each other letters once every few months. And you got to understand that being deep in the jungles of Bolivia, you're not real confident in the mail system. So never was really sure kind of where my letters were going to go or, when they would get there. I think it was the average transit time of probably about a month and a half, 2 months. But I would write Marcus's letters and send him little trinkets and knickknacks and things that I found in the little markets. I made a mixtape with Alan Jackson on it, which I wasn't supposed to be listening to.
We got it all done. Let's make a Tennessee whiskey run.
Yeah, that was.
I still have that
Craig
tape.
Morgan. That's a great. You still have that tape?
I still have that tape.
Oh, you got to bring that tape.
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to listen to music on your mission, but I kind of made a little bit of an exception for feel good, happy music, stuff that got me pumped up. That was I felt something that I could listen to in the presence of the Lord, right? So country music kept me going. I didn't listen to it regularly, but I had a little tape, and we actually had these tape recorders, literally cassette tapes, and we would write each other messages and talk to each other, and it was like the original voice text, except you had to send it via cassette tape all the way across the world. So every few months, Marcus and I would stay in touch, and it was awesome. I'd learn all about what he had going on in Macon, Georgia, and he would learn all about the wild time I was having in the jungles of Bolivia.
I think you used one of my T-shirts as a pillowcase for years on your mission.
I'm pretty sure my entire mission, I used a T-shirt. That's kind of weird now.
Sounds like more than just a friendship.
Yeah, looking back, no, that definitely feels weird.
That's weird.
I think it's honestly just because I didn't have a pillowcase, and so I was just using the T-shirt.
What was the weirdest rule on your mission? Like when you got to the mission, you're like, this is weird. Why?
You couldn't eat strawberries or lettuce.
Well, okay, but that's just
Why was that?
Because apparently they can't wash them well enough, and they had missionaries getting sick. So yeah, we had all sorts of restrictions on what we could and couldn't eat, and it was mostly just because the sanitary and hygiene conditions.
But what about church rules?
Church rules.
Mine was why can't we play full court basketball? That's weird.
We played full court basketball.
Well, that's because you're sinners.
Yeah.
I don't even think we were able to play
You
basketball.
didn't have a gym. Period.
Yeah, no, all we had was soccer, literally for 2 years, and I hate soccer. No offense to soccer fans, my body's not made for soccer. It's not made to run back and forth, and go full speed, and never get the ball. I fast. I can run, but not for long periods. So the mission was wild, man. Looking back, it's a time. It's the worst and the best 2 years of your life because it is pure hell some days because you're out there knocking on doors and I'm trudging around on these dirt roads of Bolivian jungles in the hot sun. It's 105, 10 degrees on a daily basis, and I'm wearing a white shirt, slacks, a tie, basically full-blown church outfit. And you're just knocking on doors trying to get people to listen to you and trying to change their lives, trying to go into their houses and say, hey, guess what? We believe your life can be better if you follow, this certain set of rules. And I do believe the gospel brings people immense happiness when it's, exercised correctly. But you're talking about changing people's generational beliefs. And, the Catholic Church is big down in Bolivia, as it is in most Latin countries. And so we are up against a serious battle of, we're taking people who have, their Virgin Maria and all these different things that they're used to kind of praying to and worshiping and stuff. And we're basically going in and saying, no, just, focus on your relationship with God and Jesus Christ and helping people understand, the Godhead and the Trinity. And you're just teaching them things that are so different from what they've ever been taught. But
so are Mormons Christian then?
Mormons are Christian. Our faith is centered around the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's the bottom line. So it's rewarding though. You're learning how to put kind of everything on hold and be very selfless and focus on serving other people for 2 years. And you're learning work ethic. And in my case, I was able to learn 2 new languages, Spanish and Portuguese. So you learn discipline and you learn a lot of valuable things and you learn a lot of faith lessons. But again, it's very hard because there's days where nobody wants to talk to you and you just want to go home. And every missionary has experienced that. You felt that. It's a real thing. But overall, I am very glad that I did it.
Did you ever starve?
I don't think I starved. No, I did okay with food on my mission because I have kind of an iron gut, so I can eat just about anything.
We were only allowed to eat in members' homes once a week, and we got, I think, $110 a month was our rations for the month.
Yeah.
And I was always an idiot, and I would go buy a watch.
Yeah.
and I would have no money for the rest of the month. And I would find like grits in the cupboard who'd been there for who knows how long, and then I'd buy like $2 eggs, and that's what I'd eat for the whole week.
$110 a month, I think, is kind of what standard worldwide missionaries got back then. But $110 in Bolivia was like 1,000 Bolivianos. So we lived well. In fact, a lot of the, well, not a lot of them, but some of the missionary companions that I had that were from like Ecuador and Peru and different places like that, they actually went on a mission because the quality of life on the mission was better than they had at home, because, you know, that church support that they received, even though it's not a lot of money by any means, they were living better as a missionary than they were in their own homes. And so
members actually ate at Dave's apartment.
Oh yeah.
Instead of him eating at members.
I ate well on my mission. I got tired of chicken and rice over and over and over again, but you know, a year in or so, maybe 6 months, I started to learn kind of what the actual good foods were and understand. Bolivians are very generous people. They all want to feed you. They're not very wealthy people, so they don't have a lot to offer, but they'll always give you something. And there's a lot of times where we would eat when members had nothing to eat, and they wouldn't have it any other way. You know, they would take small portions and they would give us everything they had. So very generous, very loving people. I love Bolivia. I want to go back. I want to spend some more time there. I've only been back once since my mission, and that was right before I got married. And we were flying on standby as my bachelor party, and we got stuck in Lima, Peru for like 2 or 3 days because we couldn't get any flights. It was wild chaos, but it was amazing. So if you ever get a chance to check out the heart of South America, you definitely go to Bolivia. And then I also served in Brazil, which I lived in Bolivia, and I walked across the border and taught in Brazil every day. And it was like walking from a third world country to a first world country, literally right across the border. It was one of the craziest things in the world. I love Brazil, love speaking Portuguese, love the Brazilian culture, and the food in Brazil is just unreal. It's everything about Brazil is awesome. So Brazil is actually probably the next place on my list of where I'm going to go on a big vacation.
Can we ride motorcycles there?
That'd be fun.
Be a good time.
That'd be way fun. So speaking of that, you know, we're going to move on from the mission thing. I want to talk about something cool that we did just a couple months ago. So Marcus and I, as we mentioned, we've been friends for a long time. We also have a good group of bros and just buddies that we've been friends with for a long time. And back in 2016 or 15, I believe, we did a bros motorcycle trip. You were not on the first one.
I wasn't there.
But, you know, I think 8 or 9 of us went and we rode our Harleys and street bikes up the Pacific Coast Highway up into Big Sur, I think. It was an amazing ride, and right after it was done, we were like, we should do this again. This is amazing. Let's plan another ride. And then, you know, talk's cheap, putting together a trip like that. Once you have, you know, wife and kids and everybody has families and jobs, it's really hard to make happen. So earlier this year, I started talking with the guys again. I was like, hey, it's been way too long since we did that last trip. Let's do another trip. And so I got with the original guys, my buddy Mike Fleming and Trevin, and, you know, just the crew of bros. And then we reached out to some of our other close friends who weren't on that first trip, including Marcus. And we ended up putting together a group with about 14, 14. Of our closest friends. And we rode basically from Sacramento all the way up into Southern Oregon. And we rode the PCH.
Northern. We hit the top of Oregon and then cruised over to Portland.
That's right.
There.
Yep. Yeah. So we rode the Pacific Coast Highway all through the Redwoods, all along the coast. It was one of the most, it was such a great experience that for me, it was like damn near spiritual. It was such a disconnect from the world, and I'm just with the greatest dudes I know in some of the most beautiful country in the world. And one night we would camp in the redwood forest and just show up to this campsite and have no plan other than just to show up and set up camp, and we'd have amazing nights. And then the next night we would grab a hotel and then plan on camping the following night. So we broke it up so that it wasn't always just, because packing all your stuff on a street bike like that, as far as camping gear goes, some people can do it. Other people, like myself, I don't pack light.
We got rained on probably half the trip too.
We did.
So carrying all that gear was nice to have it in the truck and not have it on the bikes, and it would get there dry or mostly dry.
Yeah.
And man, dude, it was good for my soul.
It was good for I think it was good. I think that was the cool thing about it is everybody was excited, but once we got into the redwoods on that first camping night, everyone was just like, wait a minute.
something special.
Yeah, something special here. What is this? This is really cool. Hans got a little taste of
Yeah,
it.
it looks cool, guys. It looked really cool to
Hans
watch you
flew
guys do
down
social media.
to Southern California to meet up with our partners at Indian Motorcycle to grab some of the demo loaner bikes that they sent us with, which, by the way, huge shout out to Indian. Thank you for taking care of us. They sent us with 4 brand new bikes, all different models that we were able to go take and test out and cruise, and it was just incredible. One piece of advice that I could give anybody, if you have the means and the opportunity to ever do this, get a motorcycle. Even you go rent one from a Harley shop
They're
or
cheap
whatever.
to rent. They're so cheap
they're
to
really
rent.
not bad.
Just like a Turo. There's
Yep.
an app for it now. It's so
Yep.
cheap.
And go cruise the Pacific Coast Highway, specifically through the Redwood Forest. I mean, the Avenue of the Giants, cruising through there, seeing, these old redwood trees that were hundreds of years old, and they've got trunks that are like 33 foot in diameter and they're 300 feet tall. Like, there's nothing like it. There's literally nothing like it. So whether you just go by yourself or go with friends, I would suggest maybe grab a couple bros, make that your number one bucket list trip, because it's not that expensive. You can do it on a budget.
Literally, we didn't spend a ton of money.
we didn't.
Even on food and such.
Exactly. And renting a bike, if you got to rent a bike, that's not that much money. If you have a bike, that's even better. But I'm telling you, it was one of the coolest experiences we've had in a long time. And every day that went on, we just kept on getting more like into it. Like, everybody just kept on getting more and more like thrilled by what we were doing and what we were seeing. And the company was great. And every night we'd get around the campfire and we'd sit and we'd just laugh for hours and tell stories. And just day 2 or day 3, 2 of our good buddies actually crashed, and it was a really bad wreck. Actually, went into a corner too hot, slid out, and then one of them slid into the other buddy in front of him.
Allegedly.
Yeah, no.
And
yeah.
they both ate shit hard. And our buddy Mike, his helmet saved his life. Like 1,000%. There's no question about it, because it hit the ground so hard that it cracked, and then it blew off of his head. But fortunately, by that point, it had already absorbed the impact. And he had the worst road rash I've seen probably in my life ever on anybody. And we rolled up, and our buddies were laying on the ground, and had to go into immediate paramedic mode and start to triage these guys and help them. And it was a mess.
Which is when you come to life, man.
Dave damn near bought out all of CVS. Literally was just taking his arms down the shelves and was sliding it all into the basket. Just like everything that you could think of.
To be fair, he does that every trip we go on.
No, but dude, it was just like it was cool to see. Like, Dave didn't even flinch. I got there. I was a little shook, man. I was right behind Mike when he wrecked, and I was holding Mike because I didn't know what else to do. And then Dave just comes up, and it's like straight into the mode. We rode back. And he patched them up every freaking night, better than a doctor. And they both finished the trip, too.
That was the crazy part, man. Mike's bike was totaled, but luckily we brought a spare bike, which was my Turbo Harley, which was not necessarily the best cruiser, but it's really fun for about an hour. So we had the spare bike, threw our buddies on it, and got everybody back on. And it was incredible. Just one of the most adventurous, like free-spirited, like soul healing trips I've ever had in my entire life.
That's what I would say.
Right?
Is when you're doing this trip, don't map everything out.
No.
Have a general direction in mind, but if you get to an area and you're like, I think I need to spend more time here, don't be like, oh, well, we got to get to the next destination. We go places like, oh, we need to swim in this. We need to jump off that. We need to go through this forest. We need to go off this road and go down this road. And it all just like came together perfectly. It was not planned out like at all.
And make sure the group of people that you're with is on the same page.
Totally.
Because if you have somebody there that is like very dead set on an itinerary and you got to be here, you got to be there certain times, you're not going to have a good time. If you're trying to be free-spirited. Now, if you are somebody who can't, make decisions like that, and you need somebody to tell you where to go and when to go, then that's fine. But just keep in mind that a trip like that can be so much more enjoyable if all of a sudden you come across a rope swing or a waterfall and a river, and you look at your buddies and it's like, hey, I'm hot too. Let's go swim. Let's spend the afternoon swimming. We did that multiple times where we just
our
stopped,
boxers,
just
we
hanging
had no
out.
plans of swimming, just stripped down in front of random people and jumped in the water.
Have you ever seen the movie Wild Hogs with John Travolta and those old timers that went out? It literally, that was us. I mean, as much as we joked about that being us in the beginning, next thing you know, we're in a watering hole swimming in our boxers with a bunch of families around, and we were the Wild Hogs, and it was the best damn time. And we're already talking about planning the next trip, and we're hoping to make it happen here without, another 8-year delay, which was what happened the last time. And I think now that everybody's experienced it and we understand how we can pull it off and how it's really not that much work. The key to a trip like this, when you have a big group of guys, especially if you're going to be camping, is have a chase vehicle follow you. We had our big Chris who works for us, pulling a big gooseneck trailer that hauled all of our bikes out there. So we didn't have to ride the bikes in from Salt Lake, which was awesome because that's a boring ride. We were able to unload them and ride during the pretty parts, and then he would follow us and show up to camp each night with our camping gear and stuff. So my ridiculously overpacked self had like all my stuff on the truck, and everything that I had with me, I couldn't have fit on a bike if I tried. I had like a cot and Starlink, and it was kind of ridiculous, but it was amazing, and it was. I'm looking forward to the next one, and then on the next one, I think I'll probably vlog the whole thing just a little bit better, just because it is a cool adventure, and I think people would like to see.
I gotta say, man, all you freaking people on the comment section, like I know you guys got to be like a little bit, You got to be nice about it, but man, y'all were bitching so much about that freaking episode that you did before. You missed the motorcycle part.
Oh, you're talking about the
YouTube
Anchor ad and all that stuff.
It was super cool, and the Anchor thing wasn't even that bad, and everyone just bitches and moans. I'm like, dude, you guys, we just had like one of the greatest adventures ever, and it was documented really well, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hard part about that, so what Marcus is referring to is we did
not bring that up.
No. I'm glad you did, because this goes back to something we talked about last week, which is our video format and how we do things sometimes. That video of the bike trip, in my opinion, I don't like to post a video unless it's like a full comprehensive story that has, a beginning, a middle, an end, and just has a real story element to it. I don't like to post footage just to post footage. So I didn't feel like we had enough of a story because we were too focused on just the ride and we weren't really trying to film much. So we took some bits and pieces from that trip and we put them in part of another video that we posted recently, which was basically just kind of an update video of where I've been, what I've been up to, and what's going on. And that video, unfortunately, also had a sponsored segment in it, and that sponsored segment was long. It's called a dedicated sponsorship video, so it's a lot of talking about the sponsor, although we try to make it engaging and fun and throw in other pieces like this bike trip. And there's some people who appreciated it, but there's other people who didn't quite understand why it was all mixed together, and I don't blame them. It was kind of a hard thing to understand if you didn't know exactly what we were getting at with the video, which was really just an update of where I had been during the month of August. So moving forward, next time we do a trip like this, I think we will maybe dedicate a full video to it.
Go back and watch it if you haven't. You'll get a small sliver of the vision. You know, I think it does paint. It's not the whole comprehensive story, but it paints a little bit of that picture. And granted, we'll talk about this shit forever. You know what I mean?
Years.
You guys all came back different people after that trip.
But they can see a small sliver of it, and hopefully you get something out of it. You know?
Check it out. There's a I can't remember what the video's title.
It's
I think
called
it's
like Where Have I Been?
Where Have I Been? I posted on my. Oh, now we're getting blown up.
Picture of the cabin.
So
hello.
Shit.
That the Instagram story just went live. It finally went live, and now.
Yeah. So the hotline that we were talking about at the beginning of this podcast, which is the whole reason why we're talking about or doing this podcast tonight, is to answer your questions. Anytime we do this, I'll put up a post and put the hotline number out there on my Instagram, and we just start getting blown up. As of, like, for right now, we are getting blown up. The story just barely went live, and now we're going to be getting a lot of interruptions here, which is great because that's the whole purpose of doing this. But it also makes it a little bit tricky to be able to because it's all connected through one system here, the phone system. So I may have to disconnect the phone system for a minute and let people leave the voicemails, and then we'll just kind of focus on the messages, because we do have some messages already set aside that we want to get to, questions, comments, things that you guys have called in. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the first one here.
Yo, before we do.
Yep.
I hope you know how much we all freaking will cherish that trip forever.
Yep.
And you made that shit happen.
And we're going to make it happen again.
I know, but I just, I listen to your thing about, one thing with Dave is I always want to make sure he knows my gratitude, because half of my cool memories, man, they're more than half. You're in it, you know what I'm saying? But that trip was something all of our friends needed, and you did that, and I hope you realize how much we all appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So I'm sorry to take it back.
No. I like that.
That was core memory.
I really appreciate you saying that, and that goes back to something we talked about on last week's episode. my world revolves around providing experiences for people. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. And watching all my friends experience something so cool like that bike trip, like that's fuel for me to be able to do it again and make it bigger and better and more exciting. And I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not trying to one up anybody. I'm just trying to do cool stuff with my friends and
Mission
let them.
accomplished.
Man, this phone is just going nonstop. I'm just having to send a lot of these calls to voicemail. So I apologize, guys. It is a little chaotic here with the audio, but we're gonna do our best.
Are we gonna shout in the dark and just answer one of them one of these times?
Should we?
Just right off the rip, man.
All right. Well, maybe we will. I don't even know if it's gonna let me play
We just
the
need
audio
that
here.
audio up on that Bluetooth when you're ready.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, we're gonna try to play a voicemail here. It may get interrupted by a phone call, but we'll see.
What's up, Heavy D? Question is, will we see the Bro Dozer and Bro Camino in the Monster Jam World Finals here in Salt
This is gonna be almost impossible. Hold on.
Lake City? That'd be amazing. That's probably cost, contracts, all sorts of things like that, but love to see the Bro Dozer out, the World Finals, and Bro Camino. Both you guys at Rice Eccles would be pretty cool. I'd love to know more about that.
All right. I love that question. He didn't leave his name, so I'm just going to say caller here. Thank you. Anytime somebody reminds me of Monster Jam, it just gets me all pumped up because we had a really good time doing Monster Jam. We didn't do it for very long. We only did it from 2018 to 2020, and then COVID hit and basically stopped the Monster Jam program for a while for worldwide. And at that time, we kind of pivoted and went a different direction and decided that we needed to focus on some other things, which meant that we stopped driving, and we have not been back in the truck since. And the reason for that is because it's a lot of work to be able to drive a Monster Jam season. I mean, these drivers are driving every single weekend from January till May, and sometimes driving 2 shows a weekend. So it's nonstop travel, and it's not like the shows are all in the same place. They're going all over the country, from East Coast to West Coast and everywhere in between. And, you know, the nice thing about working with Monster Jam was they put together the trucks and the team for us. So Diesel Dave and I were able to basically just show up and drive these trucks. And it was really, really cool. It was also very frustrating for me because we didn't have time to drive every single show because we're still filming the TV show at the time. So we only got to show up and drive like once a month. Given our schedule, and that's just not enough time to get really good. So we drove enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be consistently good. But what was cool is every time we went out, we were able to just go ham and just drive these trucks into the ground and try tricks and maneuvers and things that other people just, don't get to do. We got a little bit of special treatment, and I'm not even ashamed to say it because we brought a lot of value to Monster Jam. We created 2 of the most popular trucks that had been released in a long time. Bro Dozer and Bro Camino were designs that we built and owned and just licensed to Monster Jam. So those aren't Monster Jam's designs, and people loved them. And our truck was the first diesel truck. There had been another truck driven by Diesel Dave Radzieres from XDP, but he didn't drive consistently in Monster Jam. He drove like smaller shows. So we, claim to be the first diesel truck ever to compete in Monster Jam. And it's a fair statement because, the truck went on tour for 2 or 3 years in a row. And it was incredible. But again, it was a lot of work, and working with Monster Jam has its ups and downs. And it's not always the easiest partnership just because they're trying to manage so much, and they basically handle all of our trucks and the transportation for us, and we would show up and just drive. So to answer your question, yes, I think at some point you'll see us back in Monster Jam. We were in talks with them again. We spent some time with them this year at World Finals. Every time there's a big show, they call us and we'll be hosts and judges for them. I didn't know Monster Jam World Finals was coming to Salt Lake. Actually, I think I did know that, but I think I forgot.
Yeah, they told us when we were in Feld, Florida.
Yeah. So, yes, with the show coming back to Salt Lake, yes, we will be involved. I don't know if our trucks will be in it because to be able to prepare for something like that, it's like a year in advance. You start preparing, training.
Because the diesel truck is not running right now. Like, did they discontinue it?
Based off of my conversation with them, it doesn't sound like they are going to ever bring the diesel truck back to Monster Jam.
Does that make you,
less
proud that you're like, I was the one and done? I did that? Or does that make you like, I kind of failed?
No, the truck was a total success.
Okay.
Like for the fan perspective, everybody loved it because it was a totally different experience. It came out, it made
Sounded
different noises.
so awesome.
It drove differently. It bounced off of stuff when other trucks didn't. Like I was able to do things in that diesel powered monster truck that nobody could do because I had the benefit of not snapping parts because I didn't have all the instant horsepower and torque of a methanol engine. I had the diesel that would load up, and then when the turbo would spool, it would like be like a spring. It would just launch all that energy, and I could do really cool tricks that you couldn't do anywhere else. But it's a lot of work for Monster Jam. That truck was a huge expense for them and took a very special crew, and it was always needing something because again, that truck was totally built from scratch to do what we were trying to do, and it probably maintaining and managing that truck was probably the equivalent of managing 5 of their other trucks. So as of right now, they don't have that truck scheduled to come back simply because I don't think they have the same crew. It takes a very special crew to put it together, and it's not on the calendar or the radar at the moment, but I would very much like it to be, and typically when I put my mind to something, it usually comes together and we can make it work. So
Would you be willing to drive an ethanol-powered vehicle?
yeah, that's the hard part. Now, once you've driven the Brodozer, the Monster, the diesel-powered Brodozer, it's really hard to go back in anything else. I don't like driving the methanol trucks, only because I have that to compare to the diesel. Diesel Dave loves the methanol truck because the Bro Camino was only methanol-powered, and it was just a standard. Basically, it was the same truck. Basically, all the trucks are exactly the same.
Yeah.
They just have different bodies on them. Like the chassis, everything is all the same. The only reason mine was different was because it had the diesel in it.
Yeah.
I would probably drive a methanol truck, but I wouldn't be as excited about it, and I probably wouldn't drive as many shows, just because once you've experienced that diesel, there's nothing like it. It's insane. So we will be at Rice Eccles, okay, but I don't know if we will be driving. So we'll see. We're talking with Monster Jam, and as soon as we have some information, we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, that's coming up this year in May or whenever it is. World Finals, Monster Jam, Salt Lake City. Going to be a great show. Next message.
Hey, Dave and the guys. I've been a long-time fan of the channel. I live up in Wisconsin here. I just had a question regarding relationships. Was there ever a dream girl that you let go? And if there was, when do you know it's the right time to let go? And or when should you stay and fight for the one that you love?
Jeez.
Just really struggling with that right now. So if you could get back to me with that, that'd be great. Thanks, guys.
Brother, we feel you, man. Most of us have all had, that experience in some way or another. Heartbreak is a weird thing, man. Getting your heart broken and losing somebody who you believe is your person is one of the most difficult things that any human can experience, because it just you feel so hopeless, you feel so lost, you feel so empty, you feel so alone, and it's hard to even kind of explain that feeling to somebody who's never experienced it. But I will say that I have had a few serious relationships in my life before I got married. 2, actually. I had one kind of through high school, and then I had one right after I got home from my mission. And the one through high school, it was great. She was like one of my best friends, just awesome.
She was cool.
She was great.
What was her name again?
Caitlin
Caitlin,
Drew.
she
Big
was
shout
cool.
out to Caitlin
Nice
Drew.
girl.
We love Caitlin. And again, she was like, I was friends with her family. I was friends with her brothers. Like, just a great, perfect high school girlfriend, and a great girl all around. When I went on my mission, she ended up dating somebody else, and which is fine because I'm gone for 2 years. And I came home, and she actually ended up being single when I got home, and we went out on a date or two, and the magic just wasn't there. We just realized that it wasn't the same as it was before, and it wasn't like either one of us was not like, it wasn't bad. It was a total amicable, like, okay, we're just different people now, and love you for who you are.
That was the first date back?
That was actually. So the first date back goes into the second girl who broke my heart.
Oh,
but I think what happened was as soon as I got back, I ended up running into another girl that I knew from high school. I didn't go to high school with. She went to a different high school, but I knew her, and she was like the girl. And I met her, and I was instantly infatuated. Like, I just thought that that was it. But we didn't, immediately get together. And so in the meantime, I ended up going on this date with my old high school girlfriend, and maybe that's why the magic wasn't there. I'm not 100% sure, but for whatever reason, with my high school girlfriend, it didn't pan out, but it was all good.
It's like flying the Dolphin, knowing you have the Black Hawk back at the hangar.
Dude,
you know,
it kind of actually, yeah. And no offense to that, but like, I got home and I met this girl. We went country dancing with Marcus and some other friends, and
Matt
Booger.
Yeah.
And we ran into this girl, that the next girl. I'm not going to say her name for privacy reasons. This one's not one that I would probably share, but met her, instantly fell in love, or so I thought, and went all in. I was like just fresh off my mission. And when you're fresh off your mission,
best friend.
yeah, Marcus was not pumped about this because he felt very much like he was waiting for me to get home, literally counting down the days. Like he had one of those paper pull chain calendars, counting down the days, waiting for me to get home. And then I get home and he takes me dancing, and I meet a girl like the first night we go out. And I was pretty dead set on being with this girl because the attraction was there. I was just really excited. I was fresh off my mission. I was just all in. And we dated and got pretty serious over 6 months. And it was a relationship that, you know, from the outside looking in, a lot of people thought like there was a lot of red flags. You guys aren't compatible. You know, slow down, chill out.
I was waving them.
Yeah. And I was just seeing like stars. I was just in love because I was extremely attracted to this girl, and it was I thought there was compatibility there. And unfortunately, after 6 months, things went sideways, and she basically, you know, I think we both knew that we were supposed to break up. And the night that we did break up, it was like I was okay with it. I was like, yeah, you know what, you're right. This is probably the right move, and I was totally okay with it. And I drove home. At the time, I was still living with my parents. On the drive home, I just fell apart. I was like, no freaking way did I just end that relationship, or did we just break up? Like, technically, I would say that she broke up with me, but it was very amicable at the time, and we were both like kind of on the same page until about like an hour afterwards. And I was like, no, I got to get her back. And I remember literally a 21, 22-year-old dude. I did everything, man. 21, 22-year-old dude laying on the foot of his parents' bed, just sobbing, just so sad. Just thought my world had just ended, and I didn't know what to do. And Marcus was like cheering, and he was so pumped.
I was so happy.
So, and my parents and people who knew me and my friends were all kind of like, yeah, you know, you're probably better off. Maybe you guys weren't going to work out, but I didn't believe it. And so I spent a solid probably 2 or 3 months trying to win her back. Everything I could do, trying to just like prove like, hey, I can, you know, be that guy and we can work this out. But she had moved on, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. So I don't, that was one of the darkest, lowest, like worst feelings of my life. Granted, at the same time, or around the same time, my dad got really sick and was dying. And so I was losing like 2 people, and it was just really hard for me. And I remember just feeling completely hopeless. And so going back to the voicemail that we got here, I know your pain. I feel your pain, and a lot of people do. But one thing that I learned through this relationship was that life goes on, and that's all there is to it. Life goes on, and if this person is not meant to be in your life, then they're not going to be in your life, and you can't force it. So the best advice that I can give you in a moment like this, if you've lost somebody or gone through a bad breakup and you're not ready for it to be over, don't go chase them, okay? Don't go run after them. Don't go bend over backwards and become somebody who you're not. Instead, the best thing you can do is go work on yourself. Go become a better version of yourself. Go become the best version of yourself. Go to the gym. Go like learn a new skill. Go get better at your job. Go do everything to make you a better person. Make yourself more attractive. Make yourself just better in every way so that you're more confident, more comfortable in your own skin. And I've found that when this happens, if you're meant to be with that person, they will come back into your life, and you'll be a better version to receive them. So don't let this become something that just completely ends your world. Don't let this become something that completely changes the course of your life for the worst. Use this as fuel. Use this as an opportunity to get better. Use that frustration, the sadness, the pain, and go take it out on the weights at the gym. Go take it out on a new hobby. Go take it out on something that's going to make you better. Go read books.
Hit the highway.
Go study. Go on an adventure. Go on a trip. Do anything you can for yourself, and stop focusing on what could have been or how heartbroken you are. It's okay to feel heartbroken. You can't pretend like those feelings don't exist, but you also can't let those things define you. You can't let that become who you are. You can't become the person who got dumped. You need to become the person who went through a relationship. You had your ups, you had your downs, you felt the pain, and you turned that pain into motivation to know that you never wanted to feel that way again. And maybe you'll go through another heartbreak. It happens. People change, things happen. But what I will tell you, you mentioned you're struggling with that right now. The number one medicine to this is just going out and it almost sounds selfish, but go focus on yourself, like in the most intense way. Do things for yourself that you've never done before, and do them in ways that you've never done before. You're going to find a new version of yourself. You're going to peel off this skin of this old person that was in this relationship with the person that you desperately miss, and you're going to love the person who comes out on the other side. If you do this the right way. And the right way is literally just focusing on you rather than on what you've lost.
Let me ask you a question then.
I have another question after yours, by the way.
Because sometimes I feel like it shouldn't be that hard, right? Like with Heidi, it wasn't hard, right?
Right.
So it's like, it should be easy, these relationships, but then also you still have to sometimes fight for those relationships, and it works out better when you do it. So when do you know? You know what I mean? It's like, when is it just like, nah, this is enough. I'm washing my hands. This is way too hard. It shouldn't be like this. Or you're like, oh no, I need to put in more effort.
I think a good kind of a simple way to view that is, if the other person is putting in the same amount of effort that you're putting in, that's a pretty good indicator that maybe you guys should continue to figure, like, solid, fight it out, right? Like just don't. You should definitely throw in the towel if the other person, if you're going 80 and she's going 20, get out of there, bro. It's never going to change. And actually it will change, because as soon as you pull away and as soon as you go do your own thing, she's going to be like, well, wait a minute. Look, women love the chase. Women don't love somebody who's constantly chasing them. So one of the most powerful books I ever read, and it's one of the cheesiest, lamest books. It's called Double Your Dating by a guy named David D'Angelo. And he wrote this book during the whole era of the game and the power of seduction and that whole era, where there was pickup artists, and all they would do is go out and figure out a way to get with women. And these are kind of dweeby dudes who figured out the science of attraction. And the science of attraction is women. He teaches this push-pull technique, and it's basically you push a little, you tease them, you make fun of them, you do, but gently. No, I'm not talking. Don't be a dick, but
fall down.
But yeah, don't be abusive. Don't be physical. Pushing means you push them away a little bit. Don't be the first to text. Don't be the last to text. Push them away a little bit, but then pull them back with some love and some care. And women like that. Generally speaking. Now, a lot of women may listen to this thinking, hey, that's terrible advice, but I'm saying this in a way that if you're too available, you're not attractive.
We're talking dating right now, right? Or are we talking through marriage?
This applies to everything. This applies to women. I have found in relationships, obviously when you're married, it changes a little bit. The game goes away a little bit, but you got to that's what keeps the romance alive. If you keep them on their toes, if they feel like they know what they're going to get, if you're predictable, if you're just this same old guy that's always just available and you're always just there, that's kind of, I think, how relationships go stale.
I don't know, man.
That's why you turn 40 years old and you start a punk band and start jamming, just to be a little unpredictable and predictable.
You just have to keep a little bit of excitement there and to keep a little bit of the chase. Even when you're married, I think the chase needs to stay alive. But it's on a different level.
Yeah.
It's not the same as dating. With dating, the chase is a totally different game. But I would recommend to my caller here, go read that book. Double Your Dating. There's a lot of stuff in there that may not apply to you, but there's a lot of valuable lessons that just teach you the science between men and women and the science of attraction. And once you learn that, You'll learn how to be able to use it in a way that is actually not just beneficial for you, but also beneficial to your girl and the people around you. Because life is about some of the most charismatic people you'll ever meet are people who practice these techniques.
I fought for Heidi.
You fought for Heidi.
Well, nobody knows this, but when me and Heidi were dating, we were dating very seriously, but she was also talking to this chiropractor that she met in like Pennsylvania or something on a trip. And they were still communicating, which was totally fine. We weren't like together, right? So she was still talking with this guy. Well, Marcy told me, hey, Heidi's going to Pennsylvania to see this guy next week. And I was like, what the? And I was heartbroken because I loved Heidi, you know? I still love Heidi, obviously. So I was, most of my instincts would be like, well, screw that. I'm out. I'm done. Gone, you know? But I was like, no. I like this chick. I need her to stick around. So I called her and I said, look, I know you're going to Pennsylvania to see this guy. If you go, I won't be here when you get back. But I really want you to stay. And she stayed, and we're married.
I like that.
Do you ever? I've never told anybody.
I don't think I knew that.
No. Yeah. So that was one case where normally I'd been like, nah, that don't work for me. I'm out. But I was like, nah, this is the right girl.
Well,
and
I think what happened there is
told her.
you were assertive. You basically you stood your ground. Women like to know that when a man says he's going to do something, that he's going to do it. And they like a man who does it, who's not going to be pushed around. So if you would have said, okay, go do your thing and have fun, and I'll be here when you get back, what incentive does she have to come back to you? Because she knows that you're just there. You're too available. I'm telling you, the number one thing you need to focus on is don't be too available to anyone ever. Like this goes for men, women, friendships. Do not be too available because it becomes a situation where people take you for granted, both romantically and just in casual friendships. It's an interesting thing, but there's a lot that you can do, brother. There's things that can make this pain less painful, and it all starts by kind of setting her and your feelings and the heartbreak aside and figuring out a way to make sure that you come out of this, the other side, a better person. We're kind of all over the place on that answer, but there's a million different ways to look at it, but ultimately kind of the principles are the same. If you just chase somebody who's done, it's all you're going to do is just set yourself up for longer, more heartbreak. I remember chasing after this girl who broke my heart right after my mission. I was doing like so much. I was being Mr. like just literally like Cupid himself. And then one day I finally got a text from her that just said stop. And I was just like,
that's what it takes.
That's what it took for me. I was like, okay, well, shit. This is over, because I didn't believe that it was over. I thought for sure that the harder I tried and I could prove to her that I could be the guy that was there for her. I think her big concern was that I had a big social life and I was going to spend more time with Marcus than I was with her. That was one of the reasons she gave me that we broke up. And
is that the truth? I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that, but
oh, no. It was my choice because I was choosing to have a balanced life, spending time with you, spending time with friends, spending time with everybody, and there was way more to the relationship than that. But that was a red flag for me that I didn't know was a red flag at the time. I thought it was something that I actually needed to change about myself. I needed to be more available. I needed to be more there, and that wasn't the answer. And I'm glad that things didn't work out with her because I ended up meeting Ashley, and Ashley was the perfect girl for me, and ultimately the relationship was pretty effortless. Not that it was easy, but it didn't feel like either one of us had to like try. Like that's how you know that you're in a relationship, when there's a lot of just like a flow, right? Like when there's an easy flow, you'll know it.
That was my question for all the married people. Do you consider your marriage easy?
Hell no.
mine's pretty easy.
I do.
Yeah.
So far.
But like I had a friend the other day who was like, dude, marriage is so hard. And I was like, I get everybody has their own struggles, but like
marriage has never been easy for me, but that's also because no relationship is easy for me.
Like it doesn't matter what
every
it is.
relationship that I have struggles because I am just wired differently than most people, and I kind of march to the beat of my own drum, and that makes communication really hard sometimes. And so so the communication side of marriage, not easy. The flow and just the way things work, that's easy. So there's easy that you can deal with, and there's easy that is there's hard that you can deal with, and then there's hard that shouldn't be hard.
Yeah.
Because not every part of a relationship should be hard. There should be a lot of easy, a lot of flow, a lot of effortlessness.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you're having to put in a ton of effort where it's like, wait, what's not right here?
Yeah.
So everybody's different. Everybody handles things different. Everybody relationships different. Compatibility is a very interesting thing. But it's one of those things where if you are taking care of yourself, if you're making yourself the best version of yourself, that perfect girl is going to pop into your life, and it'll be very obvious. So get yourself to that point.
Can we take a live call?
Yeah. How about you guys want to take the next call that comes in?
Yeah.
But first, relationship number 2, I still hate you. And I still have a lot of resentment.
I think it's
You
safe to
took
say
away
that
my best friend.
she's probably not listening to this podcast.
If she is, I just want her to know.
Yeah, I highly doubt she is.
toilet
I learned a
paper
lot from her. I learned a lot from that relationship. And honestly, had I remained in that relationship, I probably would have been wearing a scarf and driving a Honda Accord.
We wouldn't be friends probably.
Probably
she
not.
would not let you be friends with me.
Yeah, my life would have gone a completely different direction. Not sure if that marriage would have lasted very long. Maybe it would have, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I would have not been who I am though, because I was not able to be who I am when I was with her. And
I literally pulled up and you were hanging out with her, and I had borrowed a Dodge Viper
this
with
is the
the
worst.
top off.
This is the worst.
And I literally just got done doing like
I was at her
140
house.
miles an hour, and I pulled up, Dave, meet me out front. And I pulled up in a Dodge Viper with the top out, blacked out car. And I'm like, Dave, let's go. And he's like, I can't. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Get in the driver's seat. Let's go. And that's pretty much what led me to hate that chick.
Yeah. It was rough. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I ended up with a saint of a woman. Ashley is an incredible wife, incredible mom.
And I love Ashley.
Yeah, everybody loves
Ashley's
Ashley.
greatest.
It's been an
God
incredible relationship, and she has been somebody who can put up with my bullshit and go for this wild ride, because being married to me is a wild ride.
I could not imagine. Oh, I feel like I'm right there though.
Oh yeah, you and Ashley, you're
Yeah.
both married to me on almost the exact same
We just don't have an
level.
intimate relationship like you and Marcus have.
Well,
We just shared pillowcases, okay?
Yeah,
And love tapes. And there's nothing wrong
all right,
with that.
next voicemail before we get into more pillow talk.
Hey, Diesel Dave, and Heavy D. I have a question for you. There's a scammer. I don't know if you can look into it. It's called Power Sparks on TikTok, and that keeps messaging me and says it's you, but I don't think it is. But maybe you can look into it on TikTok. It's called Power, and they say it's you guys. Thank you. Have a good night and day. Bye.
So yeah, listen, this is one of the most frustrating things in the world, and I feel like it just happened suddenly one day. It's been years that it's been going on now, but probably 2017. All of a sudden, we started getting tons of messages from people saying, "Hey, when does my truck get here?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" All these random fans and followers on the social media platforms would be like, "Well, I got a message from you, and you said that you're going to send me a truck." And you look into it, and it's not us. It's some 14-year-old kid over in India trying to scam you and trying to take your money. So basically what they do is they'll create social media pages that look like us. They'll use our pictures. They'll use our usernames. They'll kind of spell them differently, or they'll miss a letter, or they'll do everything they can to make it look like it's one of us or one of our company pages or somebody that works for us. And they'll post all of our same content, and then they will go to the list of people that follow our pages, and they'll start sending random messages, and they'll say, "Hey, are you a fan of Dave Sparks?" And people will usually be like, "Well, yeah, definitely. I just saw a message the other day."
A couple said no.
Yeah,
The ones I get say no.
For the most part, they're reaching out to people and who are fans and followers of us. And like this guy says, you're getting the page is called Power Sparks on TikTok. TikTok's the worst. They're all over the place. There's TikTok accounts that are fake that pretend to be me that have like 5 million followers, and people just follow them because they think it's me, because they make it just
Yeah.
not obvious enough that people can't really catch the scam. And the scam is they will message you and tell you that you want a free truck, and once you respond to them and get going down that rabbit hole, they'll tell you that the truck's gonna be delivered. All you have to do is send in a check for $2,500, cover the shipping, and the amount of people that fall for this is bananas. So guys, just so you know, we will never ever send you a message or a DM or an email or anything telling you that you've won a truck. When somebody wins a truck from us, we have all of their information, including their phone number, their address, and we will call them and specifically talk to them and make it very clear that it's us. We'll FaceTime them. We'll do everything. But these new scammers are getting very sophisticated.
AI is going to get wild, dude.
The AI images of me, they'll take a video that I did of another giveaway in the past, and they'll change the words, and they'll personalize it to the person they're trying to scam, and the person, like, they'll think that it's me saying they're winning a truck. It's hard. I'm sorry. It's frustrating. And the most frustrating part about it is Instagram and Facebook do absolutely nothing to stop it. There's probably 100 new pages that get started every week.
Every time we post something, more start up.
Yep.
The worst part is they'll send a picture with like a
Photoshopped company ID.
with my phone number.
Yep.
Somehow they have my phone number. So I get like 20 calls a day, just angry people that they've spent $250 to get their truck and they never got it.
Well, my Instagram got hacked and it got deleted eventually, but there's still people that are texting my phone, and I'm not anybody important, but just they're like, "Hey man, did that Bitcoin thing really work for you?" I have over like probably 10 people that sent this guy $250 to get coaching from the Bitcoin guy that I got approved from. I'm like, bro, I don't know shit about Bitcoin.
It's, if you're getting texts and emails and DMs saying that you've won something, it's 99.99% of the time a scam, because somebody who actually is going to give you a prize has more of your contact information and they can verify it. So please just don't respond to them. The worst thing that people do, the amount of people that are falling for this sucks, because all that does is fuel the scammers to do this more. Like, they wouldn't keep doing this if it wasn't working. They're doing it because there's people that are actually falling for it. And then we get the messages. I'll get a message on my main page saying, "Hey, is this you?" And they'll send me a screenshot of Heavy D spark with like 6Ks and like a 6. And it's like, well, no, because you're messaging my main page right now, and you know this is my main page. So why are you asking me if that page that messaged you is me? Because you obviously know that it's not me. And they've got 7 followers. Like, it's very obvious.
Yeah.
If they're not verified, if they don't have, you know, a blue check mark and a massive following, it's a scam. Yeah. So just don't play into it. Don't do it, guys. I'm sorry. I wish there was more we could do about it. We've tried reporting them. We've tried getting Facebook and Instagram involved, and they just don't do anything about it. And it's actually really frustrating, because I'll report a page that appears to be a scam to me, and I'll send it into Instagram and say, "Hey, this page is a scam. They're impersonating me." And Instagram will be like, "Okay, we've received a report. We'll look into it." I'll receive a email or a message or a notification like a week later saying, "Hey, we looked into your report and we are sorry, but this does not appear to be violating community guidelines."
Yeah, it's wild.
I've never had them take one down for me. Never. And we have contacts at Facebook and Instagram. We just quit trying. We just basically have just instead tried to educate our fans on kind of what this actually looks like. And it's really, really frustrating. We're getting a call right now. Should we answer it?
Yeah, do.
All right, here we go.
You can't answer it?
Can't answer it.
Must be the wrong guy.
I don't know why that didn't just let me answer. Never mind. We were going to try to answer
Is there a number there? Because I could just call it back on my phone.
Well, they're coming in. We're getting a call like every minute here, guys. I've just got it on mute. I apologize. We're still learning this this phone server back end thing. It's basically a voice over IP line. So they call in to this digital number that we have, and all the calls happen right here on the desktop. So that for some reason didn't let me answer it. So we're going to get into the next one. We got, ever since we've been sitting here, let's see, we've received 30 messages in the last like 10, 15 minutes. So appreciate you guys calling in. It's cool. It's fun to be able to connect with you and talk. Actually, here's one. Here's one that I wanted to actually get to.
First off, hi, Heavy D. I'm Landon from Preston, Idaho / Richmond, Utah. I know you respect our time, so I want to respect yours too, so I'll get to the chase. I started, just this year, I started my sophomore year in high school. I know it might be a little early to start thinking about this, but I've been thinking about my college career and my career in general. My parents are divorced. My dad lives in Richmond, and my grandpa on that side, my dad's dad, owns a family farm that all I've ever wanted to do is run the farm with my dad and my grandpa. But my mom doesn't want me doing that because she really doesn't like that side of the family. and she knows farming isn't a good career path when it comes down to providing for families and money-wise. My dad really doesn't want me to do it until at least I get in my older years, because he also knows that that's not a good career path for providing for a family and making money. So I just want to know your take on me either going to college when I graduate high school or running the family farm, if that what makes me happy, or if I should pursue a career that makes more money and easier for me to provide for a family that I plan on having in the future. Thanks. I know you respect my time. I respect yours too. I hope you see this message. Thanks. Bye.
Dude, that's a sad.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
Is there a number on there?
Yeah.
You should just call that kid with your cell phone.
Let me see if I got the right number. Landon from Idaho/Utah. Yeah, let's see if I can see if this call. Yeah, for some reason the phone's not working. It's not letting me make any calls. Landon.
That's such a sad. That was sad.
I wouldn't say it's sad.
That was a solid question.
It
It was
a
a
solid
great question. It's just sad that parents do that.
Well, dude, no, you got to understand, though, because you have kids. Do you want to see your kid go down a career path that you know is going to be a struggle? Do you ever want to see your kid struggle?
No, I don't want to see him struggle, but it's like I want my kid to be happy.
Exactly. But the problem is you've got a little bit more foresight than your kid does. So you can see further down the road, and you can see that your kid, let's say your kid wants to go out and I don't know, I can't think of a job example right now, but if there's something that one of your kids wants to go do that you know for a fact is going to be a struggle for him, and it's going to be hard, and you know what his end goal is, which is be able to provide for a family, are you going to tell him, hey, go sell drugs because it's what you want to do?
Drugs. Let's say be a police officer or be a teacher or something.
Whatever it is, if it's a career path that's going to be difficult for them to make money, you're going to do the same thing that all parents do, which is like try to look out for your kid, right? You're going to try to provide them with the best insight because you have life experience and you have this foresight that the kid just doesn't have because the kid doesn't have that life experience. So it's a really, really, really tricky question because on one hand, this kid is very passionate about doing something and he wants to do it real bad, you can tell. On the other hand, he also has goals and aspirations, which include raising a family and being able to have a life. And, given the circumstances, I don't know what the family farm is and what kind of revenue it generates, but in general, farming is very, very hard to make money. Every farmer that I've ever met, I've never met a farmer, I've met big corporate farmers that do well, but for the most part, family farms literally work for free.
The problem is all the farmers in my hometown are very well off.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Potato farmers.
The joke is like, find me a poor farmer. They don't exist where I'm from.
Yep. And that's the thing. Here's the advice that I would give you. Don't let your parents make this decision for you because then you will resent them. And then if you're not able to explore this and figure it out for yourself, you'll always have that what if. And, I wonder if. So what I would suggest is maybe if you can, figure out a way to do both. Figure out a way to go get that farm life in, go work on the farm, do your thing. But at the same time, carve out enough time for you to be able to be working on something else, whether it be a side gig, a side hustle, whatever. Everybody says don't have a backup plan, burn the boats. In this case, I don't know if that's necessarily the right decision because I think you're young enough right now that you still might not 100% understand what life as a farmer could be like. And you may get into this farm situation and 5 years from now be like, that was fun, but I'm ready to actually have a real job and be able to provide for my family. So don't, in this situation, don't give up your dream just because, your parents said it's not the right career path. But at the same time, don't go all in on something that isn't going to be able to give you what you need in the long run, which is providing for your family. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to be a lot more work, but I think that you could probably have an opportunity to do both. And you'll learn probably fairly quickly which route is the route for you. If you are okay with, and it just kind of depends on what you're okay with. If you're okay with living the way that a farmer lives, and if your family farm doesn't generate, good money and it's always struggling, just know that you're always going to be worried about money. You're always going to be stressing about payroll. You're always going to be stressing about, paying the bills and providing. But on the flip side of that, what's that worth? Working with your hands, working with the earth, tilling the land is the most gratifying feeling in the world. So every farmer that I've ever met is usually pretty super stressed about money, but they're very content with life because they're doing what they love, and it's farming. It's whether you're milking cows and you have a dairy farm or whether you're, farming hay. There's a lot of satisfaction in hard work. So I think the best answer to your question is you're young. You don't have to make any life-changing decisions right now. And even if you did go work on the family farm for 2 or 3 years, you'd have a pretty good idea after 2 or 3 years whether or not that's the path you wanted to go. And I think the biggest thing that young farmers need to be able to do is course correct. If you are on this course and it's not working for you, don't feel like you're stuck, because you're not. I mean, taking over the family farm, and that's a big responsibility, especially if you are going to be the one that they depend on to keep it running. But don't be afraid to course correct if you have to. But at the same time, man, you sound passionate about it. I would not let anybody talk you out of that passion, because then you'll always wonder what if.
I thought that I wanted to be a glazer like my dad.
Yeah.
What's a glazer?
It's a, commercial glass. Like when you go to like a big high-rise building, you see all the aluminum frame and the big panes of glass that are in it.
Yeah.
That's what a glazer does, a commercial glazer. And I thought all through high school, Dad, I don't need to go to college. I don't need to do this because I'm going to be a glazer like my dad. And then I went and did it for 6 months. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. This is terrible. So it's, dude, go try it. And I think you'll know pretty quick whether you want to do it or not, But my whole thing was I thought I wanted to be a construction guy. I thought I wanted to be a glazer. And then I went and did it and realized that's not what I wanted to do. So, and the other thing I'd say too is, man, we didn't know what we were going to do till mid-20s.
Yeah, that's the thing, dude. You don't, if what he said, he was
We're
like
kind of
18,
still working on it,
Sophomore
aren't
in
we?
high school.
Sophomore in high school, dude, you don't have to know right now. I would, you got so much time. You got so much time to be able to figure this out. So make sure you explore everything. Make sure you go give yourself a chance at everything, and don't rule anything out yet, because you've got a lot of time to make some decisions and live life and have some experiences. And, mom and dad may not approve of whatever you decide to do, whether it's farming or if you go another career path. At the end of the day, mom and dad aren't, it's not their decision. And it's not their place to make that decision for you. And every toxic, father-son or, parent-child relationship I've ever seen usually starts with those types of expectations being set early and the kid not being able to meet them. And then all of a sudden the kid feels disconnected from their parents because they feel like they're letting them down. And that's just bullshit. Your parents want to see you happy. They don't care about what you're doing for a living. They want to see you actually happy and fulfilled, and they know that your goal in life is to be able to have a family and support for that family, and they want to see, they're just trying to help you avoid, common mistakes.
How many times has your business changed?
Oh, bro, my business is always
Changed on the way
changing.
home from our recovery today.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying too? Is like, you're not stuck in one thing. It's like, man, I used to put on parties, right? And then that happened by chance, and then it moved into doing parties for colleges, and then I was like, I don't really want to do that anymore. And then it was corporate events and concerts, and you just roll with the punches, and it just kind of morphs and happens naturally. And I never had a plan, you know what I mean? And I'm not the most successful dude, but the same thing with you. I've seen you started selling cars, and you started buying construction equipment, selling construction equipment. Then you started doing giveaways, and then it just kind of naturally just rolls on, and you figure stuff out as it comes,
Yeah, I've seen some of the most unhappy people I've ever met have been people that went all in on their career when they were 21, and they just got stuck being a dentist. And I'm not saying that being a dentist is a bad thing, but I know a lot of dentists that aren't stoked on being a dentist anymore, and they're not
Number
stoked
one
on
suicide rate.
Dentists.
Dentist is like the
Really?
number one when it comes to suicides.
I did not know that. That's wild.
If you had to work on this grill, I wouldn't
Every
be
day
super
in,
happy.
day out.
Sorry, Brian. That's my buddy.
All right, let's see. Here's a call that just came in. We'll go ahead and play this one.
Hey guys, it's Kevin out of San Antonio. I had a question about work-life balance. I mean, you guys seem super busy all the time. How do you manage family time and in progress?
It's a good question. We've got that question a lot over the years, and the truth is, we're not pros on it. We're still trying to figure it out as we go. But I think the biggest thing is, number one, is being conscious of it, being aware of it, knowing that you need to have a balance. Because balance doesn't just happen. I've never seen a world where balance just falls into place just because you're just living and you're just trying your hardest. You have to actually actively be trying to make that balance. And for everybody, that looks different, because some people work 9 to 5, and to find a balance with 9 to 5 is easy because, well, it's easier for some people because you're going to be home at 5 or 6, and you're just going to carve out that time and make that family time. Somebody like me, I could be home at 9 o'clock one night. I could not work the next day, and then I could work for a week straight until 10 o'clock every night. So my schedule's all over the place. So it's always been harder for me. So one good thing that I've done that's really helped me, just kind of like a bare minimum, is Sundays or family days. Like I don't do anything. I try not to do anything for the most part. I'd say 90% of my Sundays are spent with the family, connecting with them, spending time with them and doing all that. So really, believe it or not, you have to schedule balance. So put it on the calendar. Find a time to date night with your wife. Find a time to date night with your kids and hanging out with them, and be consistent with it. Because if you're not, all of a sudden life happens really fast, and next thing you know, you're way behind the 8 ball and you are way out of balance. So give yourself an audit every once in a while, and I would suggest doing it at least once a month. Kind of audit where your time was spent, what you did with it, and whether or not you're happy with what that looks like, and whether or not your spouse and your family and the people who you need to spend time with are happy with it. But another big part of balance is you time. You have to figure out you time, because a lot of people, especially young men who are out there providing providing for a family, you're working around the clock. You are just constantly like trying to just make it work, trying to figure out how to provide for this family and trying to figure out a way to just keep everything going. And next thing you know, you are letting your health go, or you're letting your passions slip, and you are not doing things for yourself. And then what happens is you become a less attractive human. And what I mean by that is not just physically, but just in general. Somebody who's not fulfilling themselves and not meeting their own needs, well, they can't meet anybody else's needs. It's really, if you're not loving yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, it's really hard for you to love and take care of other people the right way. So when it comes to balance, I would say number one item on the list is, what kind of balance are you creating for yourself, and what kind of alone time, and what kind of you time, what kind of gym time, what kind of meditation and kind of check-in times are you setting aside for yourself? And if that is out of balance, start there, and then you'll find that I think a lot of other things kind of start to fall into place. But you just have to, it's something that's never going to just happen for you. You're always going to have to actively work on it and actively check in and create schedules and hold yourself accountable. And, the more you do it, the easier it gets. The less you do it, the harder it gets. It's one of those things where practice definitely makes, I don't want to say perfect, but practice makes much easier. So if I were you, I would just start by get a calendar, take a look at it, figure out what days and times you can commit to certain things and stick to it. Don't let it change. And if it has to change, make sure that it's only changing because it has to for, some reason that is out of your control. That's my advice. You guys?
I would say the time you do spend with your kids, your wife or whatever, just focus on them during that moment. Put your phone away, turn off the TV, do whatever, right? Because 30 minutes of undistracted attention to your kids is better than 2 hours of you home just kind of walking around or watching TV, right? So I would say the time you do get to spend with your kids and your wife, make that time count. Don't take it for granted. And, that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
That's, if you schedule it out and make a plan for it and you just kind of like plan things, I think that helps too, especially for people with really busy schedules. If you're scheduling things and you look down on your calendar, you're like, oh, I can't at this time because I've got this scheduled with my wife or kids or family, or we're doing this. I mean, if you have it on the calendar and you schedule it, it's easier to kind of stick to it.
Yeah. It just, like, again, it just goes back to the planning, and you have to be consciously aware of it. And always working on it.
Yeah.
All right, next voicemail from Alaska, I believe.
Hey, how you guys doing? I was just curious. So I'm trying to grow businesses, get better as a person. And one of the things that I'm struggling with a lot is finding like-minded individuals. I know I'm in Alaska currently. It's where I'm living, and it's very hard just because it's so isolated up here. But when I'm back in a place of population, I can meet and greet people. Choosing the right people to be around, how would you guys suggest going about that and doing that, I guess, in the right way where I'm not going to be getting around toxic or mean people that are out to hurt me? Because I know you've talked about business before where you've had issues with business partners, bailing out on you and stuff like that. So I guess I'm just asking, what are the do's and don'ts of finding a good business partner and even just being around good people that are goal-oriented, such as yourself? Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
So my advice on this has always kind of been the same. If you don't absolutely have to have a partner, don't have a partner. Partnerships are really hard. They may seem easy in the beginning. The worst mistake I see so many people make is two buddies who love Jeeps, and they're like, we're going to open a Jeep shop together. And then they go in 50-50 and they literally within a couple of months are hating each other. They hate their business. They hate everything about it because partnerships are really hard because partnerships are really a matter of expectations. And if you're not clearly defining roles and responsibilities and expectations and communicating them on a regular basis through some really difficult communication, the partnership's going to fall apart. Because everybody values themselves differently than other people. So you may feel like you are the key, like the most important part of the business, and your partner may think that they are, and they may think that you don't bring any value to the business. And there's a lot of times where that gap is impossible to cross. I've had good partners, I've had bad partners, and I've had everything in between. And what I've learned is that if I don't absolutely need a partner, then I won't bring on a partner. But on the flip side of that, I've learned that if I am going to bring on a partner, that I need to understand that whatever they say they bring to the table or whatever I'm expecting them to bring to the table, I cut it in half right out of the gate. Like, just know that there's a good chance that my expectations are not going to be met. And so I just need to lower them. And you're way happier that way. One thing that I found is just because you have high expectations of somebody and they say they're going to be a certain way or do a certain thing, it doesn't always pan out that way. I'd say actually probably more often than not, expectations are not met, and that creates resentment. It creates a lot of frustrations, and it creates a lot of lawsuits I've seen actually. So I think if you're going to partner with somebody or you're going to bring somebody on, sit them down up front and lay out all those expectations. What do you expect from them? What do you want them to do? How do you want them to respond in certain situations? And then also, don't do 50-50 partnerships. If the other person is bringing more to the table than you are, then they need to be able to have the final say. So they need to have a higher equity stake, and they're ultimately the one who has the final say. Somebody always has to be the tiebreaker. In like a small partnership. In big partnerships, then you got to have a bigger, like a board or something like that, who can be the tiebreaker. But having those expectations laid out up front and letting them know kind of what this is supposed to look like from the get-go is a big deal. But also, things change as time goes on, and you have to have contingency plans for what happens if this isn't going the way that it is. There should be a buyout clause. There should be an exit strategy. There should be hey, if we're not getting along, how do we break up? Write that up front.
Do you think there's a play there where it's like, hey, let's not jump into bed just yet. Let's throw together a trial period.
Always. A trial period is always the best move for anything.
And how long does that have to be?
It just depends on what the situation is. Like when we bring new employees on at the shop, typically we'll put them on a 90-day trial period. And just say, hey, 90 days, you're an independent contractor. We're going to try it out. And what this does is it provides us an excellent opportunity to get to know each other and see if we can work well together. And if not, you know what? Fine. In 90 days, you go your way, we go our way, and we don't have some awful severance agreement or some terrible thing. So when it comes to partners, you think about this dude. Let's say the guy wants to open a car stereo shop and he can't afford it, but he's got a buddy who likes it and he wants to do it. And so they're going to go in and they're going to do it together. They need each other, meaning that the business, I guess that's the first thing you have to decide is, do you absolutely need this person? Can you do it without them or not? Okay. And if you can't, then that's when, before just saying, all right, let's do this, you need to sit down and do all those things that I said. Create an exit strategy, create a what if, create contingency plans, create roles and responsibilities and expectations, and spend a lot of time drafting what this partnership is supposed to look like, because great contracts make great friends. That's the end of the day. That's the best thing that you can do, is just lay it out so that when shit does go sideways, as it always does, you know exactly what your next step is, rather than having some 50-50 partnership where all of a sudden things aren't going as planned and you both are looking at each other like you're the problem. You're thinking I'm the problem, I'm thinking you're the problem. Then what? It's just a recipe for disaster and failure, and I've seen so many friendships just completely fall apart simply because people didn't take the time to do this hard, uncomfortable stuff up front. And this goes for employees and everybody that you bring on too. Anybody that you bring on, just lay it all out up front and spend a lot more time coming up with the what ifs and the contingency plans, and I think you'll be way happier. But again, I stand by my word of, if you don't need a partner, don't do it. Just try to do it on your own. And sometimes people bring partners on that really should have just been employees.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing you need to understand and you need to figure out is, whoever you're bringing on, whether it's a partner or an employee or contractor, what's their incentive? What drives them? What are they looking for? What's their motivation? And figure out whatever it takes to hit their mark. So if they just want to make a bunch of money, well, then put them on commission and give them a killer way to be able to make as much money as they can off of bonuses and commissions. If they want to be a decision maker and they want to have, say in the day-to-day business and they want to be part of the creative operation, then that's great. But what are they bringing to the table to be able to do that? So I think the one thing that I would suggest is, there's a lot of consultants out there, a lot of different agencies that you can hire to bring in, and they don't cost a ton of money. Hiring a third-party consultant to be honest with you and to kind of mediate for both of you before you get into trouble is the best thing you can do. You can also bring these people in after you got a partnership that's going and it's not working well. And if you sit down with your partner and say, hey, we can't see eye to eye, we can't figure this out, we're going to have to bring somebody in. Before we bring them in, do we both agree that we're going to go with whatever they say? And that's a big thing you have to decide on. And we did that in the early days of our business. We brought a consultant in, and he really helped us in a lot of ways, kind of like fix some serious partnership issues, because the equity structure was off and there was just a lot of like wacky stuff that needed to be changed. And this consultant came in and really helped us, because he kind of was like a neutral third party who was viewing this from like a 10,000 foot view, rather than being boots on the ground and seeing all the
no emotions tied to it or anything. It's just like he just saw black and white.
I'd say bring in a mediator.
Yeah.
Whether before there's conflict or after there's conflict, you can always bring somebody in, whether it's friend or family. I would suggest hiring a professional, because there's somebody who does this for a living. So that's a long answer to a short question. All right, we'll pop through another one here. We're still getting calls like crazy. We appreciate you guys calling in. We appreciate the support of the podcast. It's really cool to be able to just chat with you. We're going to hit you guys with one last call for tonight. Again, we had a bunch more that came through that we're not able to get to, but don't be afraid. If we didn't get to your call, we're going to keep on adding them up here and banking them and getting back to them each week as we do this. So the last call, here we go.
Hey, question for you on your podcast. You talked about employees from
This is hard when we keep getting calls
from employer side of the fence, but I want you to jump to the employee side of the fence. Work on the job, have been here for growing on 20 years. Started as a kid and have grown up to a point where I feel like I'm up against my potential here. How long do you wait and try to seek to further yourself in your position? And how do you know when it's time to move on? One of those things that can go pretty deep in the conversation of this and that and the other. But I don't know. You got any? thought, inspiration, words of wisdom? Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. You know, you're talking to somebody who's been in a job, sounds like the same job for, going on 20 years. And he mentioned how he started as a kid and he's getting to the point where he may feel like he's kind of maxing out his potential. So that's a hard one. And I actually love that he asked this question, because the fact that you're actually being honest with yourself about this rather than just saying this is life, you are already taking a huge step in the right direction, because you are acknowledging something that you need to do for yourself. So I think the question is, when do you know if it's time to move on? And my question to you would be, what have you done to figure out what's left for you in this job? Meaning, have you looked to see if there's any room for an advancement? Have you looked to talk to, management and the different people that you work with to understand if there's anywhere else for you to go? Or are you pretty confident that you have hit kind of that ceiling and there's nothing left to do? And then I think, depending on what that answer is, you need to take a good hard look at what your tolerance for risk is, because you've got a sure thing. You've been there for 20 years. I don't know what your position there is and how you feel appreciated or not, and whether they're taking care of you. But if you've been there for 20 years, it's probably safe to say that you're okay with it and you're probably pretty content. But you're obviously not content enough, otherwise you wouldn't be making this phone call. So it's a tricky situation, and I think really this one is going to be one of those situations that you got to really kind of do some investigative work. Get in there and, like I said, figure out if there's anywhere else for you to go within this company. And if there's not, figure out where you could go. It's okay to shop around. There's nothing wrong with shopping around while you have a job. That's a perfectly normal thing to do. As an employer, I hate that, because, I hate losing good people, but at the same time, it's a natural part of life. People are going to come and go, and they need to. Ultimately, if you feel like you're stalled out and your growth has kind of like stagnant, then you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're not doing your employer any favors, and your friends and your family. You're just basically, you're allowing yourself to hit a self-imposed limit that really sounds like doesn't need to exist. So it's hard without knowing more about your exact situation, because of understanding what your job was and where it was and who you work with. I could probably get into a little bit more detail on this, but the biggest thing is you are doing the right thing by asking this question, and you need to explore this. You need to take a deep dive into this and figure out what your options are. If you were to jump ship and go somewhere else, what would that look like? What would that mean for you and your family? What kind of risk is involved with that? What kind of other opportunities are out there that would make you feel more fulfilled? Would you stay in the same field? Would you look for a completely different, job field? Do you want to own your own business? And are you okay with the risk that comes along with that? I think really, one thing that you might want to start doing is writing down your thoughts. Maybe keep a journal of your daily thoughts on this, and evaluate it after a few weeks or a month of doing this. And I think you'll have a lot of information for yourself. That kind of information, for me personally, comes and goes in kind of waves. And sometimes a wave will come in and I'll think about it, and then it'll be gone, and I will completely forget those thoughts for a few weeks or for a few months, and I won't have those thoughts again. And though being able to have kept track of those thoughts would have helped me in my decision-making process. And so that's why being able to just kind of to write them down and just document them, and pay attention to this stuff, because the wheels are obviously turning, right? I mean, what would you guys do? You've got, you look at your parents and friends and family and people who just stay in the same job forever, and when they feel like they've hit the top.
I would say that there is some value and comfort in being able to take your boots off at the end of the day and not have to worry about a damn thing.
Yep.
I mean, I used to think that everyone should ride a motorcycle, and I talked my buddy into buying a motorcycle. I'm like, dude, everybody needs to feel like that, like rush and blah, blah, blah. Well, he ended up wrecking that motorcycle and breaking his back.
You're a horrible friend.
I know. What I realize is not everybody was meant to ride a motorcycle like I thought they were, and not everybody should be a business owner. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur. That's nothing wrong with working a good, honest living. And at the end of the day, being able to take your boots off and just relax and be with your family. Like I've got the 2 weeks of hell coming up starting tomorrow, and I've been loading all day, and I had a shackle break on a trailer. I had a trailer that was overweight, and I had to have another vehicle that I need to get down to California. And I'm still thinking as I sit here, there's not a lot of times where you get to take your boots off and just be like, oh, everything's good, you know? And so I don't know. I think that dude just needs to see, like you said, his risk tolerance and what he wants to do. Are you happy making what you're doing and being with your family and taking your boots off and not have to worry about how to pay employees or how to pay or get things places or blah, 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 or how to get more work? I mean, I think there's some value in just being able to.
There is.
Well,
I agree.
And I think too, it's like the why. Like, why are you looking to leave? Is it because the money's not there or because you're just bored? Because I feel like every company, unless you're just answering phones or whatever, every company there's another way to like make it more interesting or make it funner or whatever, right? I mean, yeah, if it's I'm just not making enough money and I've talked to my manager and my manager won't let me make any more money, then yeah, it's time to move on. But if you're just bored and the money's good and
that's what I was going to touch on next. If you're bored but the money's good and you like the security, there's a lot of other things you can be doing. Yeah, there's a lot of other things you can do in your life that can bring you fulfillment outside of work.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that you should kind of take inventory of is, what are your hobbies? What are you doing, for yourself? What are you doing to learn and to grow and to push yourself outside of work?
Yeah.
Right. That's a big thing you got to take a look at, because you might find out that you just really like this job and it's a great position and it's something that you're okay doing for, the rest of a long time. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of stuff that you can start dabbling in and learning and exploring. I will be curious until the day I die. I'm going to be poking and prodding and doing all sorts of different new things, because that's the way my curious brain works. But I think it's just a matter of understanding, can you see yourself staying in this position for another 5 or 10 years? And if you were to be able to do that, what would that require? Meaning, what kind of fulfillment would you need? Does it have to come from the work side, or can you get it outside of work, right?
Yeah.
But I think the value here is you sound like a loyal dude. You sound like you've being with a company for 20 years is a big deal. So you're somebody that people want to have around. You sound like you're reliable. You sound like you are just kind of like just an old faithful, and people love an old faithful. It's a very valuable thing to have. So I don't think there's any reason why you can't start exploring interests and hobbies and also other career aspirations while still maintaining this job. I don't think there's any reason you have to jump right now. I think there's no shame in looking. There's no shame in going out and trying to see what the other opportunities are. And the more you look, the more stuff's going to pop up. And the more you'll be able to kind of compare that to what your current gig is and whether it makes sense for you to jump ship or not. So
there's probably only 1 or 2 or 3 employees of ours that have left and not tried to come back.
Yep.
The grass always seems greener on the other side. Granted, sometimes it is, but
not often.
Not often.
Yeah, more often than not, we find that and just that this goes for our business. It's not the same for every business. Again, it's not knowing what you do makes it a little bit more difficult for us to be able to talk too deeply into this. But I like what Marcus said. Being able to take your boots off and spend time with your family. You might be able to just find some more things outside extracurricular stuff that is going to bring you an incredible amount of satisfaction and joy. And also, if you're not getting worked 9 to 9 every single day, or, working 12, 14-hour days, that means you got time to do some other stuff. You could start a little side hustle. There's no shame in a side hustle. I think it's a great thing, especially if it's something that challenges you and you're excited about. And, whatever it is, there's new ventures that you can take on with way less risk than just jumping over to a whole new thing. So, we're all over the place on that answer. But I think what I would encourage you to do is just get real investigative, like really start asking questions and looking around and taking inventory of your thoughts and figuring out what fulfills you. Take a look at the last 10 years and decide what the highlight moments were for you. Were they family vacations where you were able to go provide for your family and take some time off and do that? Or was it when you had a big breakthrough at work and you accomplished a serious task and you made the company a bunch of money? Figure out what those things are and what your key motivating factors are. And the more you get to know yourself, the easier this decision is going to be to make.
We have a really cool job, and there's days that I'll leave here super bummed out, bored, whatever, but it's the mindset that I was in during the day.
Yeah.
It's not like anybody's fault but my own.
Yep. I agree 100%. So I really like that question. I think that's a good one to wrap it up on, because it's, as a man and a provider for our families, we're expected, a lot is expected of us, because we have to go figure out a way to put food on the table. And it's way more complicated than that, because we have to figure out a way to put our kids through school and pay for medical bills and
Put
pay
food
taxes.
on the table for 40 other people.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot that goes into being a man. And I think the biggest thing is, are you sometimes you got to go back to your just primitive caveman instincts and be a man. Go on a motorcycle trip. Go in the mountains. Go do hard things.
My wife tells me to go see my therapist when I'm having a bad day, and the therapist is either the street bike or the dirt bike.
Yeah.
And she knows that I'm better if I go out on the motorcycle for an hour and then I come back, my head's clear. I'm a better dad. I can make better decisions working rather than just being frustrated and kind of going after it. She knows that I need those moments,
I want to go back to that question and say this. What kind of hard things are you doing? And when I say hard things, I mean ice baths and, self-induced stress and working out and these different sorts of hard things that aren't always fun to do, but they have massive, massive payoff on the back end. How much hard stuff are you doing, and how much just coasting through life are you doing? Because I think a lot of people start to feel really unfulfilled. The more comfortable you get, the less good you feel.
Listen, man, say it again. No comfort in a growing zone, no growing in a comfort zone.
100%.
That's just reality.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up right there at that, guys. We appreciate the calls. We appreciate you taking the time to share these deep thoughts with us. This is really cool, and something that your questions actually help us just as much as our answers may help you, because you cause us to think and you cause us to kind of self-reflect. And it's really important to be able to just talk sometimes, to be able to just kind of, sometimes these podcasts, I'll be like, man, we are just kind of going in circles, or we're all over the place, but we're talking. We're letting thoughts and ideas flow that maybe we wouldn't have had come out. And I've seen major breakthroughs between all of us here.
I've seen Marcus cry at this table more times than I'd like to admit.
Oh,
I think I've definitely got choked up at this table, and it's because I don't think I maybe wouldn't have had those thoughts, feelings, or emotions, or wouldn't have even known how to process them, or wouldn't have known that they were real unless I sat here and just talked about them. So I think those of you who called in, you are already way ahead of most other people, because you're taking the time to ask the questions and be vulnerable and put yourself out there. That's a huge deal. Don't stop doing that. Keep doing that. Keep being curious. Keep digging. Keep diving into life, and don't let yourself just become complacent, because that's a quick way to become really unhappy.
Comment on this video too. Leave your questions here on this video. We'll read the comments on the video on YouTube and hopefully answer some of them there too.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's another thing we will start doing, is jumping onto the comments of the videos and responding. Basically, like I said, we just started doing the hotline deal here, where we're starting to bank a lot of questions and comments. So again, there may be stuff that we go back to from 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago, or even months ago, that we didn't get to, and we basically just kind of do it based off of how the conversation's going and how we feel we can contribute. And there may be some questions that come in that we don't really feel like we have any sort of meaningful response to, and on those ones we don't talk just to talk. I'm not gonna jump on here and just try to pretend like I know it all, because I definitely don't. I've got my fair share of issues and demons and all sorts of other stuff, but the reality is being able to just have these conversations is a huge step in the right direction. And I think maybe, for those of you who have these questions, take a look at your support group and your close circle of friends and family and kind of bring this stuff up to them too, because they might have insight for you because they know you better, they know your situation better. So if you're not talking to people, I think that's one thing that us, men don't really like to do a lot is go talk and be vulnerable and seek advice. There's no shame in it. In fact, it's the best thing you can do. So with that said, anybody else have anything to add?
Amen.
Go on a motorcycle ride. Unless you're going to break your back, and then you were not meant to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, you're giving me mixed signals here.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Half of the time I just babble. It's all good. Thanks for letting me come hang out. It was a good time.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah. All right, my friends, we will see you in the next one.